But in early 1942, just months after the shocking attack on Pearl Harbor, the United States found itself reeling. The American Pacific Fleet lay in smoldering ruins, battleships capsized, and aircraft destroyed on the tarmac. The nation had been jolted into full-scale war, and fear gripped both military leaders and civilians alike. Yet even in the shadow of disaster, a quiet and relentless struggle was unfolding in dimly lit rooms far from the front lines. A group of cryptanalysts, linguists, and intelligence officers worked around the clock, surrounded by stacks of intercepted Japanese communications, seeking patterns and codes that could reveal the enemy's next move. Air warfare had changed overnight, and the United States realized that victory would depend not only on firepower, but on foresight, ingenuity, and the ability to predict the unpredictable. But before the United States could mount a counterattack, understanding Japan's strategy was essential. The Japanese Imperial Navy, emboldened by the early successes in the Pacific, planned further advances that could potentially crush the remaining American forces. It was a race against time. The team of codebreakers at Station Hypo in Pearl Harbor, led by Commander Joseph Rochefort, became the hidden spearhead of America's defensive efforts. They meticulously analyzed Japanese messages, searching for recurring patterns, strange anomalies, and subtle hints in language. Each intercepted transmission was a puzzle piece, and even a minor breakthrough could provide the U.S. Navy with the intelligence needed to anticipate an enemy assault. As days turned into weeks, the pressure intensified. Cryptanalysts worked through sleepless nights, translating and cross-referencing data, trying to locate the target of Japan's next major strike. The stakes could not have been higher. If the Americans failed, Japan might destroy Midway Atoll, neutralize the remaining U.S. carriers, and dominate the Pacific entirely. Meanwhile, morale among the surviving forces remained fragile. Sailors and pilots trained under the looming threat of attack, aware that their efforts might be the only line of defense against a formidable adversary. Every intercepted telegram, every decoded message brought the Americans closer to understanding the enemy's intent. This period, often overlooked in popular histories, was critical. It was intelligence, determination, and methodical analysis that quietly set the stage for one of the most decisive battles in naval history. Without these early efforts, the U.S. Navy might have faced Japan blind, unable to respond effectively. The shadow of Pearl Harbor was long and dark, but in these small rooms filled with maps, radio equipment, and relentless minds, hope persisted. The first seeds of victory were being planted even before a single ship engaged the enemy in combat.
How in late 1941 and early 1942, the work of the cryptanalysts at Station Hypo began to bear fruit. At the heart of the U.S. response to Japan's expansion was the painstaking effort to crack the Japanese Navy's J-25 code, a cipher considered nearly unbreakable. Each intercepted message was a complex web of numbers, substitutions, and patterns designed to conceal strategic intentions. The team, led by Commander Joseph Rochefort, approached the task with a combination of mathematical rigor, linguistic skill, and ingenuity. They meticulously cataloged and compared messages, searching for recurring number groups and phrases that could indicate fleet movements. It was slow, grueling work, but every breakthrough brought the Americans closer to understanding Japan's operational plans. One of the most brilliant strategies employed by Rochefort's team was the creation of a ruse to confirm Japanese intentions. They devised a clever plan. The tiny Midway atoll would transmit a false message reporting a shortage of fresh water. Japanese communications were monitored for any reference to this fabricated problem. When an intercepted message indicated that AF is short of water, the Americans knew that AF referred to Midway, confirming that the Japanese intended to strike the atoll. This moment of insight was a turning point. Intelligence had transformed from mere information into actionable knowledge. It allowed Admiral Chester Nimitz and the Navy's leadership to plan an ambush with confidence, knowing the enemy's target and timing. The effort to decode JN to 5 required extraordinary collaboration. Naval officers, mathematicians, linguists, and radio operators worked in concert, often under extreme pressure and secrecy. There was no room for error, and the margin for miscalculation was small. Each day, analysts pored over hundreds of messages, transcribing numbers by hand and applying complex decryption tables. The work was mentally exhausting, and the stakes could not have been higher. Success meant the difference between a strategic victory that could change the course of the Pacific War or continued losses that could devastate the remaining U.S. fleet. This critical stage of intelligence gathering demonstrated that modern warfare relied not only on ships and aircraft, but on information, prediction, and strategy. Without these cryptanalytic efforts, the Japanese attack on Midway might have succeeded, potentially altering the trajectory of World War II. Instead, the dedication, ingenuity, and precision of the American codebreakers provided a decisive advantage that set the stage for the coming battle. Their victory was quiet, unseen, but it was the cornerstone of a historic naval triumph. By early June 1942, with intelligence confirming Midway as the Japanese objective, Admiral Chester Nimitz faced the daunting task of preparing an ambush. The American Pacific Fleet had suffered heavy losses at Pearl Harbor, and many ships were damaged or under repair. Pilots were inexperienced, many having trained for only a few months, and the fleet's resources were limited. Despite these challenges, Nimitz and his commanders worked tirelessly to assemble the forces necessary to confront the Japanese. Planning centered on using Midway's geography, airfields, and the element of surprise to offset numerical inferiority. Every available ship, aircraft, and sailor was brought together with precise coordination to ensure the ambush would be executed flawlessly. The logistical effort to prepare for the battle was immense. Aircraft carriers, destroyers, and cruisers were positioned strategically to cover approaches to Midway, while reconnaissance planes were dispatched to monitor Japanese movements. Supply lines were reinforced, ammunition was distributed, and fuel stocks were carefully allocated to maintain operational readiness. Pilots underwent intensive training in simulated attacks and carrier landings, sharpening skills that would soon be tested under the most perilous conditions. Meanwhile, the fleet's leadership emphasized communication and coordination, knowing that even the smallest error compromised the entire operation. Nimitz's calm and calculated approach inspired confidence among the ranks, turning anxiety into determination. The human element of preparation was equally critical. Sailors worked around the clock to repair ships and load supplies, while intelligence officers continually refined their understanding of Japanese tactics. Morale remained a fragile yet vital factor. Leaders recognized that the outcome of the upcoming engagement depended not just on machinery and numbers, but on courage, initiative, and cohesion among the men who would face the enemy. Small acts of ingenuity, such as improvising maintenance solutions or optimizing aircraft deployment, collectively enhanced the fleet's combat readiness. Every individual contribution, no matter how minor it seemed, added to the strategic advantage that the Americans were carefully cultivating. The combination of foresight, leadership, and meticulous preparation set the stage for a decisive encounter. By aligning intelligence with strategy and leveraging every available resource, The U.S. Navy was ready to challenge a superior Japanese force. The upcoming confrontation would test not only weapons and technology, but human resilience and ingenuity under fire. The ambush at Midway would become a testament to how careful preparation and bold execution can alter the course of history, even when facing a seemingly invincible adversary. In early June 1942, as the Japanese fleet approached Midway Atoll, the stage was set for one of the most decisive naval battles in history. The U.S. Navy, informed by intelligence breakthroughs and strengthened by relentless preparation, launched a carefully coordinated attack that would alter the course of World War II in the Pacific. American carriers, despite being outnumbered, took advantage of surprise, positioning, and aerial strategy to strike at the heart of the Japanese offensive. Planes lifted from decks in precise waves, navigating the vast expanse of the Pacific to locate enemy carriers that were unaware their plans had been deciphered. The battle unfolded with dramatic intensity. U.S. dive bombers and torpedo squadrons attacked with determination, often at tremendous personal risk. Pilots faced heavy anti-aircraft fire, challenging weather and the constant threat of Japanese fighters. Yet the integration of intelligence and tactical innovation allowed the Americans to focus their strikes on the enemy's most vulnerable points. Within hours, critical Japanese carriers were engulfed in flames, their decks shattered and aircraft destroyed. The courage and precision of the American forces combined with the strategic advantage provided by prior intelligence made it possible to achieve what once seemed impossible, a smaller, outnumbered fleet decisively defeating a larger, seasoned opponent. The Japanese fleet suffered catastrophic losses, including for aircraft carriers and hundreds of experienced pilots. These losses irreversibly weakened Japan's offensive capabilities in the Pacific and shifted momentum toward the Allies. The Battle of Midway demonstrated that foresight, preparation, and innovation could overcome numerical inferiority. It highlighted the pivotal role of intelligence, the importance of leadership under pressure, and the extraordinary resilience of ordinary servicemen thrust into extraordinary circumstances. The battle was not merely a clash of ships and planes. It was a contest of strategy, insight, and courage that reshaped the Pacific theater. The aftermath of Midway reverberated across the globe. Japan, once dominant in the Pacific, was forced onto the defensive, while American morale soared. The victory validated the meticulous intelligence work, the rigorous preparations, and the bold tactical decisions that had made the ambush possible. Midway became more than a military triumph. It became a symbol of how determination, skill, and the effective use of information could change the course of history. The lessons learned at Midway continue to inform military strategy, intelligence operations, and the study of human ingenuity in the face of overwhelming odds.